host, Josh, with Talk About Trek. I am back again, and you guys know what I decided to read? It was Intellivore by Diane Duane. Uh, After I signed off last week, it didn't take me long, once I looked over at the old Star Trek bookshelf here, to decide that this was the best bet, the next best thing for me to pick up. And I'll give you a few reasons why. First off, it's written by Diane Duane. And around this time last year, I had a wonderful time reading through her whole Romulan story. So, getting back to dive back into her work again, I knew I would be satisfied. I knew it would be good. And I was not disappointed. Second reason, this is book number 45. And right after 45, I've got To Storm Heaven. But then we're getting into some TNG, like, I've lost the word that I want to say, but, sagas. We've got like a group of 3 books together. And then we've got, the Q Continuum saga. And then there's the Double Helix saga after that. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting into those stories, which made me decide to push the TNG numbered series again and pick up Intellivore and enjoy that this week. And that's what I've done. So let's look at the cover here together. An ancient predator stalks the starship Enterprise. The cover art here is by Gerber Studios. This was published in 1994, April of 97, and I did not do all the damage here. I don't think that I did. Look at this cover. Look at this. It is beat to death. But that's fine. It's my book, and I can do what I want. So let's read the back together here. The great rift between Sagittarius and Orion arms of the galaxy. Stars are scarce there. Beyond the authority of the Federation, and legends abound of lost civilizations and of ancient monsters that prey upon those who dare to venture into the vast darkness between the stars. When several ships and colonies mysteriously disappear into the rift, the USS Enterprise leads an expedition to investigate various disturbing reports. Accompanied by 2 other Federation starships, Picard and his fellow captains discover a bizarre menace of unimaginable power, and the only way to trap this destructive entity is to use the Enterprise as bait. Ooh, that's a spicy back cover. I like that. Doesn't really give away anything. And, man, that was written really well, too. Nice job. Whoever wrote that. 2 thumbs up. But, yeah. So, what is Intellivore? What do you get here with this book? What you get is such an interesting concept. Okay? So, now, with a lot of Star Trek books, you maybe would be focused on a certain character or something like that. You don't get this here. This is very much like a kind of focused on the problem and what's going on. There's no like one major character. Of course, maybe Picard takes the lead, but as it says on the back, there are 2 other ships and 2 other captains that are included here. So it's just very cool to have these 3 different captains kind of like working together, and it's you're getting something different. You're getting the normal TNG crew, but then you're getting this like extra bit thrown in too. So that was all really well done. And then you also had this kind of just, I don't know, I did at least, this kind of sense right from the get-go when they kind of formed their group that something was going to happen to one of these ships. That something was going to go wrong. And I kind of went through the story with kind of like this impending doom, that I kind of figured something is going to happen here to one of these ships. So the story like plays out very well. It's like a slow burn into the mystery of what's really going on, and then when it gets to the Intellivore, what's really happening, then like things really kind of get crazy then at that point. But it starts out as kind of like a small mystery where they're trying to figure out well, first off, the characters in the book. So there are, again, Captain Picard in the Enterprise, and then they're there to basically help out Eileen Maisel, Captain Eileen Maisel of the Marijanamo, we'll say. Okay, and her vessel is a science vessel, and she's the one that's already out here on the outer reaches of space, and she's requested a little bit of backup because she's noticed that there's some disappearances, there's something going on out here, something more going on out here, so she's requested a little bit of backup, so the Enterprise has been sent, along with the Oriday, captained by Gohad Cliff, Captain Gohad Cliff is a Trill, and Captain Maisel and Captain Cliff are both very well done, well written, and interesting characters, and it's just kind of fun when, when you can read a Star Trek book, which are typically, you kind of know everybody, you know what's going on, but then they throw in these new characters that are just well done and interesting, and add like a whole new side to the story. And again, I was always feeling too this kind of sense of dread, like, the axe is going to fall on one of these captains, one of these crews, something like that. So, but again, without going into too much detail, we'll do that in a minute. The story starts off as kind of like a slow mystery where they're kind of picking up the clues and kind of figuring out what's going on. And then when they do get to what's going on, again, it just really kind of takes off. And I think for me, really comes together in the end too, where you get to see like the perspective of what this Intellivore is and what it's doing. So just very interesting, very cool, and a fun little mystery. And again, Diane Duane just does a fantastic job, and just reading this makes me want to go back and kind of finish up all the ones that I haven't done yet that she has written for Star Trek, because she's done so well with everything that I have read here so far. So yeah, it's a good book. I think you should read it for sure. And I want to point out too, on the cover, it almost looks like the Borg sphere. And I don't know if that was done intentionally or what the artist's choice was there, but in the book itself, it's not described that way at all. It's basically, it is a planet something like twice the size of Earth, and it looks like a typical kind of M-class planet. So, yeah, that's Intellivore. 2 thumbs up, 2 Vulcan salutes, and read it and enjoy it, please. But if you don't want to be spoiled, you can stop here, because we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about some of the finer points of the book that I enjoyed. I took some, fairly decent notes, so we'll see how this talk goes. And in the end, it'll be a fun ride, one way or another. So, first off, let's go to the book about books. Now, according to Diane, there was an image that had been following her around for a while of a rogue planet sliding in from the dark where it passes and leaving nothing left alive afterwards. And then and I kind of picked this up when I was reading it, but this was first introduced in the Romulan way. So just, you can kind of even look at this as like a sequel almost to that, with that little bit being called back. So in the Romulan way, the ancient Romulans, when they left Vulcan for the first time, some of their ships encountered this great planet, like perfect place to settle, but they were never heard from again. And that was like the end of it in that story. So she picks up that thread here in this book and just does a great job of kind of continuing that along. So, and I guess what's great about it too is, and she writes this here in the end, it essentially is a horror story about a monster that sneaks up behind you and sucks out your brains with a straw. And when I was thinking about it, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just it's like a horror story basically. So let's get into the story a little bit. Again, the Enterprise and the Oriday are called in to back up Captain Maisel. So they begin their search of the sector, and they're kind of clued in to the different mysteries about disappearing cultures and disappearing planets and ships like that are happening in the area. And they come across a couple of ships themselves. One of them is a colony ship that is bound for a planet. They don't really want to give up where they're going. There are people that are kind of, they want to keep it close and they don't want to let people know where they're going. So this colony ship, the Boreal, is bound for somewhere, and they don't really want to give up what's going on. So they kind of let them go along their way, and then they come across a not really a pirate ship, but just I don't know, maybe some raiders or something. The La Relu, and the La Relu, when they come upon their ship, are basically catatonic. So they're all alive, but no signs of consciousness, nothing like that. So, as if their brains had all been sucked out with a straw. Right? Okay. So, anyway, so now they're kind of worried. They want to catch up with the other ship, the Boreal. Warn them what's going on. And when they get up with the Boreal, of course, they've already been attacked and devoured as well. So they've got all of these, maybe at this point, several hundred, basically just bodies, alive but not conscious, no life, that they have to take care of, And it's kind of a drain on, of course, the medical staff. They have to do everything for these people, turn them, move them, and they just lay there, and, they have no consciousness whatsoever, So they're able to now kind of track down, after this last attack, where the ship is headed. So they have another thing they do well in this book is some very fine conference room scenes, which I'm a very good fan of. So there's some nice conference room scenes here, and of course all the captains and their XOs get together. They decide, or Picard rather decides, or he kind of has the final word, I guess, as like the chief captain here, that at this point they just need to kind of stay back a little bit and try to learn as much as they can. They send like a probe close to the thing, and they're very careful not to, establish communications or do anything that might draw the thing's attention to them. So they do that, and the other captains, and I'm kind of neglecting going into them, and I probably won't go into them too much, but both are very interesting characters, and throughout the book they kind of give each of them like chances to show who they are and kind of show what kind of captains they are, which is very interesting and, again, well done. And especially with Captain Cliff being a Trill, there's some interesting stuff there that you learn. I'm saying interesting too much. I need to think of another word. Interesting. Titillating? No, it's not titillating. Well, for me, it was exciting, and I enjoyed it. And I don't have any other words at this point. But more study is needed. However, this thing, I think, is maybe a little bit smarter than they think, because it outsmarts them. And as they're following it, at a safe distance, all of a sudden, the Captain Cliff's ship, the O'Rady, busts into Warp 9 as fast as it can. And everybody's like, what are they doing? What is going on? And it is in hot pursuit of this thing. It is going right after it. And the Intellivore, I think it's coming right for it now, too, basically. So, and then when they're able to, and they don't fall into the trap, they don't chase, but when they're able to get into, like, the systems of the O'Rady, they can see that the Intellivore has tricked them and has shown them that the Enterprise has flown towards it. So they think that they're flying to rescue somebody, when actually they're flying into a trap. So, again, I was feeling this the whole time. I had an idea that one of these ships was going to get it, and here it was, the O'Rady. And unfortunately, they all fall victim to the Intellivore. And it kind of moves in, and immediately moves off and continues its course. And then the Enterprise and Captain Mazel's ship, they move in, and the crew is all gone, all drained of their brains. So this is, I mean, the book gets kind of dark at this point too, because here you've lost 1/3 of your task force. You've lost this character that you've gotten to know, over this whole book, that you've gotten to enjoy and like, and just you actually wanted to see more, learn more about, and he's gone. And he actually had it, and I think some other officers did, with that, if something like this were to happen to him, he's to be killed immediately, or not left to live. So it's a sad end for Captain Cliff here, but that kind of instills the remaining two captains with the will to do what they need to do. They realize that this thing is just going to continue hunting and killing. There's not going to be any communication or any kind of talking with it or anything like that. So they're going to have to do what they have to do, and they're going to have to take the thing out. So now here's when the book takes kind of another turn at the end, where just the pace picks up, and you get into really it's like a whole different section. And I would say kind of my favorite part of the book is this whole ending sequence, where you finally get to see the effect of the Intellivore. Anyway, the ending plan, which is a pretty good one, is that they're going to blow the thing up. They're going to use what they call a planet cracker bomb, which uses antimatter, and they're going to drill a hole in the thing, drop it in, and just blow it up. They figure that if they can get it in there and get it close enough to where the antimatter stored in there is, then the whole thing would, kind of chain reaction, take the whole planet out. So now they have to come up with a plan on how to do that. So thanks to Dr. Crusher's study, they learn that if someone is unconscious, this thing can't drain your brain. So the plan is they're going to hook Data up and basically run the whole ship. Data's going to be in charge of the whole ship, and then everybody else gets knocked out. And then they have the other ship kind of running a skeleton crew, moving towards the planet, getting the scans they need to, get the information, where to put the bomb, right? And then they've also kind of come up with a form of shielding too. Maybe not the best thing, but something that kind of hold back this thing's grip on them, so that they can do the scan, figure out where to drop the bomb, drill the hole, drop the bomb, get out of Dodge in time. So that's the plan. And again, this is just so well done, and I like how they write, or how she writes, the Intellivore kind of, and she describes it too, like tickling at the back of someone's brain. They can kind of feel it, coming in, coming on, getting ready to come in and take them over, So a very fun part of the book here, where the Captain Mazel goes in and gets her scans, and then just barely gets out in time. And she's actually gets somewhat affected by the Intellivore, but is able to overcome it through her will and get out in time, then get the scans over to Data and the Enterprise, and Data's completely wired in and has like full control of the Enterprise. So this is also kind of a well-written part too, where Data is the Enterprise, and he's like feeling the Enterprise's sensors as his own sight. It's a very well done part. And again, you have the Intellivore here trying to get into Data's network as well. And then there's some fun stuff that Data does here to protect himself. And just, again, I really enjoyed the ending, and she just really knocked it out of the park. It was well done, and it was a lot of fun. And in the end, they're able to find the location, drill the hole, drop the bomb, get out of there just in time. And not even really just in time. They suffer 147 casualties. The ship is beat up fairly well, but they're able to destroy the Intellivore. It blows up into a huge, I mean, larger than like a quasar explosion that's going to continue to, I don't know, be a problem in that sector of the galaxy for a long time. But it is destroyed and they've saved the day, so. Yeah, wow. That was cool, man. It was just, again, it was like a, kind of starting out as like a slow mystery, going, then it was like, whoa! And then it got parts where it got very dark, you know? And really it is. It's a very dark book because just so much, there's so much depth in it. But in the end, they're able to kind of come through and overcome this thing. Oh, I didn't mention this, okay? So, what is an Intellivore? You're probably asking yourself. I'm sure I was. But anyway, the Intellivore, I liked that this was a cool idea too. So it started out as a species that lost their ability to procreate. And they were dying off, But they found a way to extend their own life by kind of like sucking off the mental energy of others. So they go and they do this, and they go out and they expand, and they do this to other planets in their galaxy, you know. But then they're attacked in retaliation. So then they come up with a different plan. They need to design a way to move about the galaxy. So they design this gigantic planet ship, and then they use that to start moving about the galaxy to find these sources of energy, these mental energy, and drain them. And then throughout time, they even basically abandon their physical bodies, move their minds into these energy matrices, you know, and then over time, this whole group, which was kind of almost like a hive mind to start with, becomes like the one single entity with one goal and one passion, which is to kind of, and one pleasure, they kind of describe, which again makes it seem more like a horror movie monster. You know, it's not doing it strictly out of need or hunger. It's also doing it out of a want. It wants to do this. It wants to drain these people's life. You know, so it's crazy. But that's the Intellivore. And again, it doesn't look like a Borg cube like the cover there. It looks like a planet. And it even comes equipped with like phasers. And there's so much cool stuff that happens in the end. I will not go into all of it. But suffice it to say, that was a good one. And I really, really enjoyed reading it. And was just happy to read another Diane Duane. So, coming up next, Esther Freisner's To Storm Heaven. I don't know who that author is. Geordie is on the cover, but it's the last single novel before we're going to get into some things here in the TNG series. So that's how we're going to finish out February, I figured. We're going to do this next one, and then we're going to get into the Q continuum, and that should bring us out into the end of February, and we'll see where we're at after that, right? So it's going to be a good time for sure. That's it for tonight, guys. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. As always, live long and prosper. And we'll see everybody in the next one. Good night.